The duel that shook the stars. The twin suns of Kael'thar burned low in the sky, casting orange shadows across the jungle arena. Vines twisted around stone pillars, and ancient warrior statues stood like silent gods watching what was about to happen. Alien nobles, high priests, and battle generals sat quietly in their thrones carved from crystal and bone. They had all gathered for one thing, the royal duel. Princess Elizera stood behind her champion. She was tall, her blue skin glowing under the humid light, her silver eyes calm but sharp. Her long, shimmering dress fluttered in the wind. Around her stood 3 of her maids, heads bowed, hands clenched. None of them spoke. Everyone knew the stakes. Her champion, Varnak, was the strongest of her people. Over 7 feet tall, his body was made of muscle and scars. His double-bladed staff glowed red-hot in his hands. He had never lost a battle in his life, but today he would face a human. Commander Kael Drayan stepped into the arena without saying a word. He wore no armor, only a black exosuit that shimmered like smoke. His blade, a human-forged monosaber, hung at his side, silent and deadly. He looked calm, but his eyes were cold. Eyes that had seen war across 10 star systems. Whispers filled the arena. Why does he come alone? Where is his armor? He will die in seconds, but Kael did not flinch. He looked up at the platform where Elizera stood. Their eyes met. She expected arrogance, maybe cruelty, but instead she saw something she did not understand. Emptiness. The horn sounded. The duel began. Varnak charged first. His roar echoed through the jungle trees. The ground shook under his feet. His blade swung fast, hot sparks cutting the air. Kael moved like smoke, like shadow. He dodged, twisted, ducked, and when Varnak raised his weapon for a final crushing blow, Kael stepped in. One clean slice, one motion, and Varnak was on the ground, split from shoulder to hip. Blood poured across the stone floor. The arena went silent. Elizera's breath caught in her throat. Her knees buckled. One of her maids grabbed her arm, but she stood still, frozen. Her champion, the one she trusted to protect her, was gone. Kael wiped his blade, sheathed it, and turned to her. He said nothing, but he did not need to. Everyone in the arena knew the ancient law. Written before the stars were charted. Spoken in blood. If a champion is defeated in royal duel, his lady belongs to the victor. She and her servants are to be taken under the claim of battle, bound by the law of accord. It was not just a rule, it was a tradition that shaped empires. Now Elizera was his. She stepped down from the platform slowly. The stone felt sharp beneath her bare feet. Her heart beat like thunder. The crowd watched her like statues. Her people said nothing. Her title, her name, her power meant nothing now. She knelt before him not because she wanted to, but because the law demanded it. Kael did not touch her. He simply turned and walked back the way he came. His ship waited at the edge of the jungle clearing, dark, cold, made of steel and shadows. As he walked, Elizera and her maids followed in silence, surrounded by Kael's soldiers in black. The trees whispered behind them. The duel was over. The princess was taken, but deep inside her something refused to die. She was not broken. Not yet. As the ship's doors closed behind her and the engines began to hum, Elizera made a silent promise to herself. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The princess who refused to kneel, the inside of the human warship, was cold. Not just in temperature, but in feeling. Everything was metal, sharp, and without color. No windows, no flowers, no scent of forest rain like Kael'thar. For Princess Elizera, it felt like walking inside a coffin. Her people's songs called humans the steel-blooded. Now she understood why. Kael Drayan said nothing as he led her down the long hallway. His soldiers moved silently behind him like shadows that obeyed his breath. The ship's lights flickered as they passed. Her maids followed closely, eyes on the floor. None dared speak. Finally, Kael stopped at a wide chamber. Inside was a large bed, a desk with star maps and a soft blue light that shimmered from the ceiling. It was not cruel, but it was not warm either. This is yours, Kael said, his voice low and calm. Food will arrive at second cycle. You may move freely inside this level. Beyond it, security locks remain. Then he turned to leave. You think you can claim me like a pet? Elizera's voice cut through the silence like a blade. You killed my protector. You won a duel, but you did not win me. Kyle paused at the door. He did not look back. It was not my choice. The door slid shut behind him. Elisera stood still. Her maids gathered around her, confused and frightened. One of them, Mira, touched her arm and whispered, He does not seem like the others, Eliz returned sharply. That does not matter. He owns us now. The law binds us. You understand what that means? Mira nodded, but quietly added, Then why has he not touched you? Why does he not even look at you like a conqueror? That question hung in the air like smoke. Days passed. Kale did not return. Food came as promised. Fresh clothes too, clean, simple, and soft. The room was monitored but never invaded. Elisera searched every wall, every corner, looking for weakness. She refused to sit, refused to eat for 2 days. She wanted him to come back, wanted him to see her anger, wanted to spit in his face. But he never came. One night, Elisera stood before the sealed door and whispered to herself, If you will not see me, then I will find you. She waited until the next cycle when the guards changed. Using a broken piece from the food tray and a strip of metal from her gown's lining, she forced open the side panel of the door and slipped into the hallway. Her maids begged her not to go, but she was already gone. The ship was vast. Cold corridors, steel bulkheads, rows of soldiers who barely blinked. She moved like a shadow, barefoot, silent. She followed a glowing console map she had memorized during her first night. At last, she reached it, Kale's command chamber. Inside, he sat alone. No guards, just silence, deep and full of stars. His back was turned, eyes locked on a floating hologram of something ancient. A treaty, a document written in both human and alien tongue. Elisera stepped forward. You hide from me, she said. Kale did not turn. I give you space. You have no right to give me anything. You took me by blood and law. Yes, he said. Law I did not write. Elisera walked around him until they faced each other. Her voice trembled, but she did not show fear. Then why fight for it? Why kill my champion? Why stand in the arena at all? Kale looked into her eyes now. There was no fire in him, no joy, only a slow-burning sadness. He reached toward the hologram and rotated the treaty text. Because if I had not, another human would have, and they would not have let you live. Elisera's heart dropped. You fought for me? I fought to keep you alive, he said simply, and now I cannot release you. If I do, I will be executed. The Accord demands I either keep you under my house or surrender you to the Council for reprocessing. Reprocessing, she whispered. They would destroy me, he nodded once. Or worse. Elisera stepped back. Her anger twisted into something heavier. She was still a prisoner, still bound. But now the cage looked different. The man who held the key was not a monster. He was a prisoner too. She turned and left without another word. Back in her room, her maid saw the change in her face. What happened? Mira asked. Elisera sat down slowly, her voice quiet. We are not just bound by law. We are both trapped by it. And in the far corners of the ship, someone else had seen her escape. Someone who served neither Kale nor Elisera. Eyes blinked in the shadows. A plan was beginning. Secrets buried in Galactic Law. The stars outside the ship spun slowly. Elisera watched them through a narrow viewport, her hands clasped behind her back. Her breath fogged the glass. Something in her had changed since the night she walked into Kale's chamber. He had not lied. He had not threatened her, and that made it worse. She wanted him to be cruel, wanted to hate him without question. But now, all she felt was confusion. Mira entered the room, carrying a small silver device she had taken from the supply bay. Princess, she whispered, I found something strange in the ship's data core. Old records, laws from before the Accord. Elisera turned sharply. Show me. The screen lit up with flickering text, some in the ancient alien tongue of Elisera's ancestors, some in the hard, square-coded human language. Mira's hands shook as she translated. It says, If a human wins a royal blood duel on alien land and claims a noble or royal, he must either bind her through marriage or surrender her for execution within 30 cycles. Elisera's chest tightened. He has a deadline? Yes, Mira said. And according to this, we are already past day 11. Elisera sat down slowly, her hands gripping the edges of the console. It wasn't just law that held her here. It was a death clock. Kale had risked his life not to conquer her, but to protect her from worse. He could have taken me, used me, treated me like an object, she whispered. But he did not. And he never will, Mira added, because he is afraid of the law, and of what you would become if he did. That night, Elisera walked the quiet halls of the ship alone. She passed soldiers who bowed their heads but said nothing. They did not look at her with hunger or mockery. In their eyes, she was not a slave, but something else. A guest, perhaps. Or maybe a queen. She found Kale in the engine room, standing near a glowing core that pulsed like a heartbeat. "You should not be here," he said without turning. "I read the law," she replied. "You only have 19 days left." "Then what?" "Then they will come," he said. "The council, the accord enforcers, they will demand a choice." "To marry me," Elisera said, her voice steady. "Or to die." Kyle finally turned. His face looked tired, not from war, but from waiting. "I do not believe in forced bonds. You were never mine to begin with. But now I am," she said softly. "By your laws and mine." He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "What if I choose you?" Kyle looked into her eyes, and for the first time, his guard broke. "Then it is not law that binds us. It would be your will." She left him there, standing in the silence, unsure of what to feel, but peace would not last. 2 nights later, Elisera awoke to a faint sound, metal scraping on metal. She rose quickly, her eyes scanning the room. Mira was asleep. The other 2 maids were still. Too still. Elisera moved to one of them. Blood ran down the girl's neck, silent, clean, cold. A whisper in the dark. "Forgive me, princess, I had no choice." A blade glinted. Elisera turned, barely dodging a sharp strike. Mira screamed. The traitor maid struck again, but this time Elisera grabbed a shard of broken crystal from her dressing table and drove it into the girl's side. The maid gasped, dropped her weapon, and fell. Kale's soldiers rushed in seconds later. Kale arrived last. He stared at the scene, the dead maid, the wounded Elisera, Mira holding her hand with tears in her eyes. "She was planted," Kale said after hearing the report, "from your royal house." Elisera nodded slowly. "She was never here to serve. She was here to kill me and maybe you." Kyle clenched his jaw. "They want to erase the shame of your capture. If they cannot break the law, they will erase the record." Elisera sat on the edge of the bed, her breath shaking. "I do not fear them. Not anymore." Kale knelt before her. "Then choose." She looked into his eyes. "Not yet. Not by fear or law. But soon." And in the farthest sectors of the galaxy, the council received a silent message. "The princess lives. The human still holds her. Prepare extraction." The countdown had begun. The maids who betrayed their queen. The traitor's body was buried in silence. There were no words, no funeral rites, no songs, only cold metal and fire. Elisera stood beside the airlock as the body floated out into space, her arms folded across her chest. She did not cry. She did not blink. Her face was still as stone, but inside her something was breaking. She had grown up believing loyalty could not be bought or sold. But now she knew. Loyalty could be replaced. Mira stood behind her, pale and shaking. "Do you think there are more?" Elisera answered without turning. "Yes." The ship remained quiet for 2 more days. No alarms, no new attacks. Kyle kept extra guards posted near her quarters, but he never stepped inside. He gave her space. And that made it harder to hate him. He still treated her like something fragile even after everything. It confused her. No, it wounded her. But then came the report. One of Kale's scouts intercepted a transmission coded in old royal language. It had not come from outside. It had come from inside the ship. Someone else was still loyal to the ones who sent the assassin. Kale called Elisera into the strategy chamber. The lights were low, and holographic maps floated between them. "There's another," he said. "Possibly two. I need to move you to a secure level." "No," she replied. "If you move me, I will look weak. They will come again. Let them." Kyle frowned. "You want to be bait?" "I want to end this," she said. That night, she did not sleep. She sat in her chamber with Mira at her side. The other maid, Lyra, remained quiet. Her eyes always shifted away when Elisera looked at her. Just after the third cycle, the ship lights dimmed. Power surge. Lockdown. Elisera stood. Mira rose with her, tense. Lyra remained seated. "Lyra," Elisera said softly, "you will not look at me." Lyra blinked. I am tired. You are lying." Kale's guards rushed in seconds later. They had found the second signal. It came from Lyra's wrist. A hidden transmitter. Tiny, old, royal. Lyra panicked. She stood up fast, reached for something under her cloak, but Elisera was quicker. She slapped the weapon from Lyra's hand and struck her across the face. "You swore yourself to me," Elisera shouted. Lyra fell to her knees, weeping. "They told me if I failed, they would kill my family." Elisera froze. She did not scream. She did not rage. She walked away. Lyra was taken into custody. Later that night, Elisera found Kale standing by the observation deck watching the stars. "They keep coming," he said. "Why won't they stop?" "Because I'm not a person to them anymore," she said. "I'm a symbol of failure. My defeat means weakness. They want to erase it." Kale nodded. "Then we leave." "What?" "We chart a new course beyond the old empires, beyond council space. I've found a sector in the outer void. Law does not reach there." Elisera stepped closer. "You would abandon everything for me?" "I would abandon everything for peace," he said. "And for someone who never bowed when the law said she should." The stars outside seemed to move slower now. That evening, Elisera made a choice. She entered Kale's chamber without knocking. She sat across from him and laid her hands on the table. "Will you listen?" she asked. He nodded. She took a breath. "I was raised to rule, trained to command, but no one ever taught me how to lose. No one taught me how to be taken. I thought you were my enemy, but you were my shield." Kale said nothing. She continued. "You didn't win me with your blade. You won me with your silence. You gave me freedom even when I had none." A long pause. Then she said the words. "I choose you." Kyle looked at her, his face unreadable. "Not because of the law?" "No," she said. "Because I see who you are, and I will not let them take you from me." Just then, alarms blared. Red lights filled the halls. Council ships had arrived. They had come to claim her. Bound not by law but by will, the warships of the council did not roar. They arrived in silence, huge silver crescents gliding into orbit like blades across the stars. No warnings, no signals, only presence. And with them came the enforcers. Black-armored soldiers trained to carry out the will of the Accord without question. Cold, efficient, final. Kyle stood on the bridge of his ship, jaw clenched, hands behind his back. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. He gave none. Elisera entered, wearing her royal garb for the first time since the duel. Not as a prisoner, not as property, but as a queen. "They have sent 9 vessels," she said, voice steady. 3 are carriers. 6 are combat class, Kale nodded. "They expect you to surrender." "They expect you to bow," she said. He glanced at her. "I will not." Neither spoke for a moment. Then Elisera took something from her sleeve. A small crystal badge etched with her bloodline crest. "This symbol once meant I was bound by tradition," she said. "Now I give it to you, not as law but as choice." Kyle took the badge and placed it inside his chest armor. Below them, the council hailed the ship. A voice spoke. "Flat and emotionless, Commander Kale Drayan. You are in violation of Accord Statute 17. Release the royal property or be destroyed." You have 60 seconds to comply. Kale opened the channel. This is Commander Kale Drayan of the human vessel Resolute. I claim no property, only loyalty freely given. If you fire, we will respond. The voice replied, you cannot win. Kale smiled for the first time. That has never stopped us before. The call ended. Red lights filled the bridge. Weapons locked. Shields charged, and then it began. The council ships opened fire. Missiles screamed across the void. Laser beams burned through space like knives of light. Kale's ship shook, shields flaring. But his crew fought back, hard, fast, smart. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but not outwilled. Elisera stood beside him, reading tactical data, issuing commands. She knew their fleet tactics. She knew where they would strike, where they would hesitate. Her knowledge saved them over and over again. And when the enemy breached the hull, she was the first to draw blood. With Kale's blade in hand, she cut through 2 enforcers before they could reach the engine core. She moved like lightning, fought like fire. Her maids fought beside her. Even Mira. In the heart of battle, Kale was wounded. A blast threw him into a steel pillar. His shoulder cracked, his vision blurred. He dropped to one knee, trying to rise again. But then he saw her, Elisera, fighting to reach him, covered in ash and blood. Screaming his name, and when she reached him, she did not call for a medic. She grabbed his hand and pulled him to his feet. I did not choose you to watch you die, she said, and with that she led the final charge. Together, they reached the ship's core. Elisera activated a pulse bomb, illegal, powerful, ancient. She had stolen it years ago from her father's vault, never knowing why she kept it. Now she knew. The device exploded in silence, a sphere of pure energy that pushed the council fleet back, burned their systems and blinded their sensors. Kale's ship slipped away in the confusion, vanishing into the dark of space. Later, no one knew where they went. Some say they fled to the outer void, to build a new home where no law could reach them. Others say they died together, hand in hand, their names erased to protect those who remained. But legends grew. Legends of a human commander who killed a champion and took a queen not by force but by will. Legends of an alien princess who chose her captor and became his shield, and across the galaxies, wherever tyrants whispered of power, rebels remembered Kale and Elisera, not as rulers, not as warriors, but as 2 souls who broke the law by honoring each other.